Okay, for this question on logarithm, it relies a lot on the change of base. And okay, so for the first part, right, it's a similar question to one of the Daniel series format. Okay, so if you look at the first part, they give you a log equal to a log. Two of them has different base. And the question is for you to express u in terms of x. So in a way, it's making u the subject. So you will need to make u the subject, but without the log. So which means, right, I will need to simplify the log in such a way that I can be comparing the two log so that the log can disappear in that sense. So in order for me to compare the log on the left and on the right, I need to have same base. So I'm showing two methods here. So the first method will be the typical one, where, because if you look at the two numbers, if you look at the two base, it will be, you will know that the two base are related because 25 is base to 5 square, 125 is 5 cube. So obviously these two numbers are somehow related by the same base. Okay, and anyway, if I want to do a change of base, most of the time I will prefer to change it to a lower base. But in this case, it will not be possible if I change a 125 to base 25. So because these two numbers are related by base 5, I will choose to change it to base 5. So I will execute a change of base on the left side to a base 5 and a change of base on the right side to base 5. So as a recap, this is the change of base. So you decide the base that you want, which I draw it as a star. And then you do a heaven and earth. Okay, so that will be the basic change of base formula. So I execute the change of base formula after I decide that I would like both to be changed to base 5. Okay, when you change to base 5, the denominator doesn't have any algebra. So you should target the 25 to become 5 square, target the 125 to become 5 cube, so that you can bring down the power. So I'm bringing down the power here. On top, I also have a power that I can bring down. So in fact, it helps me to cancel away after I bring down both power. And don't forget, this is a value 1. So on the left side, I'm left with log base 5x. On the right side, I will also be getting this part as a 1. So the denominator essentially is 3 times 1. So a log divided by 3 is the same as 1/3. 1/3 times log. So it's like 1/3, 1/3. Okay, so from there, I'm very close to comparing already. You can choose to multiply 3 on both sides so that the 3 comes over, that you can bring up the power. So at the stage where both base are the same, upon the comparison, you will be able to see that u is equal to x cubed. Okay, now let's say you fail to realize that 25 and 125 are related by the same base, and you do know that you need to do a change of base no matter what. So if you can't think of any base to change, you can execute a common log, or you can use a normal log, natural log also. So in the second method here, I'm showing you that I'm doing it as a common log. So in case you didn't fail to realize that, oh, I forgot that 25 is 5 square, 125 is 5 cube, because you keep thinking, how is 25 related to 125? So maybe you don't find a common number that you can change. So you can always change to a common log or a natural log, which is ln. So I do the same idea of changing, but I'm changing it to normal logarithm. Okay, so while I do my normal logarithm, okay, I can also do a 5 square. I can bring down the power and eventually I can cancel. It's almost the same like the previous one where you do a change of base to base 5. Okay, so but at one stage, you'll find that your log 5 will be there. So upon cancellation, at this stage, you must recognize that log 5 is actually a chain of numbers. So you execute the cross multiplication. And when you execute the cross multiplication, this is like a number that you can divide on both sides. So you can divide both sides by log 5. And eventually you still come to the same log where you can compare to get u equal to x cubed. So it'll be exactly the same. It's the same idea. Okay. Now, the second part of this question, again, you need to solve for x, but with a lot of change of base. So a lot of people will get stuck. Okay, so first of all, so this is the first one that some people may get stuck. So actually, this one is a formula. So it can't, if I actually apply this formula. So in case you're not aware of this formula is just the normal change of base, except that I change to base B. I decided to change to base B, so I can do a heaven and earth. So that's where I get 1 over log dA. So this formula is useful when you detect that it's just a change in the number. So that's exactly what I do. So I use the formula, I work backwards for this part. So because I work backwards, I manage to get log 125. So at this stage, right, if you observe your 3 log, for your 3 logarithm, 2 are already same base. And then 25 is the lower base. So even though we should be changing it to the lower base most of the time, but in this question, because our 2 log is already base 125, so I shouldn't be touching the 2 that are same log. I'm going to touch the one that is base 25. So I'm going to show you the part that I'm going to focus on. So I'm going to focus on changing this. And I'm going to focus on changing this to base 125. So I execute my heaven and earth. So to change it to base 125. So I execute my heaven and earth. I want to change to base 125. Okay. In the numerator, you don't need to touch anything, but in the denominator, you do need to simplify. And we do know that 125 and 25, they are related. They are related by a base 5. So how am I supposed to proceed from there? I am going to do another change of base. And this time around, my change of base will be base common log. So I'm going to be doing a change of base on the denominator. So I'm targeting a common log because when I can change to a common log, okay, I can have a 5 square, I can have a 5 cube, which I can bring down as a power. And it will help me to cancel off. And I'll be left with 2 divided by 2/3. So 2 divided by 2/3 is the same as 2 times 3 over 2. Or you can just punch calculator directly. That will give you a 3. So this is the process where I change the base to 125. So I can replace it back. Okay, so I'm going to, after I focus on the change of base here, I'm going to change it back. So while I change it back, things become very easy already because all are base 125. So what you will need to do is just bring it up as a power and you will be getting an x cube. And where you hit this part, same base, and you got a log minus log. That will be a fraction. And subsequently, you realize that it comes to same base where you can simply compare. And during the comparison, even though you are getting a x cube, it's not the kind of complex x cube that you need to apply your cubic equation. So you just need to simplify pick out a common factor and you solve. It's quite easy on this part already. So do remember that you need to reject certain number because we cannot log 0 or you can't log a negative number. So this is a question where we rely a lot on change of base. So in O-level, change of base is inevitable. Surely there will be one question that tests you on the change of base. Okay, so make sure you're familiar with the change of base formula. This will be the generic one. So if you extend the generic one to this, that will be another formula. This formula is useful for switching the number, switching the base and the subject. Okay, so in case some of you are not aware of this.